What is up, you guys? What is up? What is up? What is up? Make sure it's all working, all doing, all good. How are you guys doing today? What is up? Just doing a live stream. Seeing what's up with you guys. Seeing how your day's going. My day's going good. What's up? How you guys doing? How did you guys, well, I mean, I don't know if all of you watch MMA, but they had the UFC fight over the weekend. That was a really crazy fight. Yeah, that was kind of disappointed in some of the outcomes. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys follow sports, but if you follow sports, you kind of get tied to teams, or in this case, it would be MMA fighters. You kind of, you don't want them to lose, and when they do lose, you kind of feel it on a personal level. So, yeah, it's just, some of the fights didn't go the way that I wanted them to, and, it's a little, I don't want to say depressing because that's a pretty extreme word, but it's kind of how do I say? It's a little, I don't want to say sad either, but it bugged me, I guess you could say. It still kind of bugs me, so make sure. Okay, cool. Audio's good. But yeah, so if you guys didn't watch the fights, spoiler, I'm about to talk about the results. So if you're still planning on watching the fights last weekend, I would probably plug your ears or close out. But it was UFC 245. The main event was Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman. Then the co-main event was Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski, and then the I don't know what it would be called, the co-main event, the third fight from the top. It was Amanda Nunes versus Jermaine Durandamy. It was a girl fight. And then the next two fights, what was it again? I can't remember. I know one of them was Petr Yan versus what's his name? Uriah Faber. I don't know what the second fight was. Let me look that up real quick. The second to last fight on the main card. It was, I know it. It was, let me see. Oh, Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo. Why did I forget that fight? But yeah, so there were some pretty good fights. For the main event, it was okay, so the main event was Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman. It was a pretty close fight. They are both, again, going in the fight, everyone knew that they had similar styles, good wrestling, both pressure fighters. Not known for being knockout artists, but the one with more power and then one with more potential to knock someone out is was Kamaru Usman. Colby Covington's definitely not a knockout artist, just a pressure fighter. So going in the fight, we knew they had similar styles, but for anyone just coming in, I'm just talking about the UFC pay-per-view, the fight that was over the weekend. So yeah, so going in that fight, everyone kind of knew they had similar styles, but they were pretty even on rounds. There was not a single takedown in that fight, which is extremely surprising since they both have very good wrestling. But I mean, it's kind of like the cliche, wrestlers kind of cancel each other out. So if you watch MMA or anything, if two people have good wrestling, the wrestling cancels each other out. So so there was not even a single takedown attempted that whole fight, which is ironic that that Kamaru Usman, in my opinion, one of the most boring fighters out there, put on one of the let me see, sorry about that real quick, live chat. Sorry about that. Put on one of the best fights of the year. So So going into the 5th round, they had it tied pretty much. On the judges' scorecards, it was 3-1. One judge had it 3-1 to Usman. Another judge had it 3-1 to Colby. And then one judge had it 2-2. So it was exactly tied. And then in the 5th round, if you guys didn't watch it, Kamaru Usman ended up getting a technical knockout TKO on Colby Covington. Broke his jaw in the 3rd round. Colby fought almost 2 rounds with the broken jaw, or pretty much 2 rounds with the broken jaw, which is kind of ironic since, you know, he talks a lot of shit. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. If Colby wouldn't have gotten knocked out in that 5th round, he would have won the fight. I wanted Colby to win. Not because I have anything against Kamaru Usman, but he's just boring as shit. I can't. Nice guy, great fighter, but it's just boring. There's no interesting, you know, nothing interesting about him as an entertainer or really as a fighter. His fights are boring. Colby Covington has the same kind of pressure style, but it's more interesting to watch. There's a lot more volume of striker. So yeah. I'm kind of annoyed that Covington lost. I would have just loved to hear what he had to say had he won. He would have been talking mad shit. They would have set up the fight with Jorge Masvidal. If you guys don't know, Jorge Masvidal is his prior training partner and best friend, or one of his best friends. But now they don't like each other anymore because Colby didn't pay Jorge's older coach. Something about money. But yeah, they don't like each other anymore. So they could have set that fight up. They could have done a lot with it, you know. There's a lot of potential there, but as I just said, and as you guys know, Kamaru Usman won that fight. So, yeah. So, because he won that fight, I mean, and what I thought was really annoying is when he won that fight. When he won that fight, they asked him about. They asked Kamaru Usman about Jorge Masvidal, and I was kind of cringy, I'm not gonna lie. He was like, when they asked him about Jorge Masvidal, he was like, who? And they're like, they repeated it thinking that maybe he didn't hear them, but they're like, Jorge Masvidal, and he's like, I don't know who that is. Like, I mean, it's fucking stupid. In my opinion, he's dodging him. I think he's dodging him. I think that Kamaru has a fucking great chin, but Colby kind of exposed him a little bit in that fight. He can take a punch, but I don't think he can take that big of a punch. And I think that Masvidal has too many tools, way too many tools. He hits way harder than Colby does. So I think that Kamaru could out-wrestle Masvidal. Masvidal would disagree, but I think that Kamaru can out-wrestle him, but I don't know. I think Kamaru is now going to dodge him and wants to fight Leon Edwards when he already beat Leon Edwards. So he's a lot more confident in that fight. He's taking the easy fight all the way around. I don't know. It's boring. Again, I don't know if you guys follow UFC, but this is not the outcome that I wanted, and it's the more boring outcome. So he's going to dodge Masvidal. They can't set up any crazy good fights. Woodley, I don't want to see. That's going to be a boring-ass fight if they rematch Woodley. So, you know, it's kind of like playing matchmaker, you know, so yeah, whatever. That's kind of, I'm not really too happy about that, but hey, I mean, the fight itself was excellent. I think it's ironic that, Colby's, you know, broke his jaw, you know, he's the shit talker. So yeah, it is what it is. Let me know if you guys watch any sports, if you guys watch MMA, if you guys seen the fights, let me know down below. Let me know what you guys are up to today. I'm just going to continue talking about the MMA fight. I see there's like 4 of you live. Let me know, you know, any hobbies you guys have, anything like that, where you're from. But yeah, so the second fight they had was Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. In that fight, Max Holloway, I don't know how he thought he won that fight. I don't know how he thought he won that fight. I think I maybe gave him like 1 round. That was it. I can't remember what round, but I maybe gave him 1 round. There's no way he got more than 1 round. I cannot say he got more than 1 round. I think he didn't do enough. And on top of that, his legs were just getting chopped the whole fight. He wasn't checking any of his kicks. He seemed to do pretty good in southpaw. What's up? What's up, Alicia? How you doing? I'm just did you see the UFC fight the other day? I gave you guys the link. But yeah, that was a good fight. But Max Holloway didn't do that much to kind of win the fight. He just kind of, I don't know. He got some hits in there, did what he did. But I mean, to me, it was a little bit lackluster performance on his end. He didn't do much at all. Typically he ramps up in the later rounds. He didn't have a chance to ramp up. I feel like everyone kept talking about Volkanovski's power, but I don't think his power is what was stopping him. Oh, it was a great fight. It was a good card. It sucks that you guys missed it. It was a good card. It was a really good card. Like I was just saying, in the main event, one of the guys broke his jaw. So and he knew he broke it too. But yeah, the co-main event, again, Max Holloway, I was disappointed with his performance a little bit. And I don't know how he thought he won that fight. So yeah, that was a little bit disappointing. I mean, good on Alexander for winning. I mean, he had a great game plan going in. I figured he was going to use kicks at some point, but I didn't think he was going to use them to that extent. But I mean, it's a huge hole, obviously, in Max's game. He wasn't checking any kicks, so you can't check any kicks. It's going to, I mean, obviously, it's gonna affect everything. I mean, having to switch stances is not easy. Even though Max might be good at switching stances, you can't be good. You have to be excellent and great. No, in the third round, I don't know if you know Colby. He talks a lot of shit. So I mean, it was just funny that he got his jaw broke. But it was the third round, and in between third and fourth round, so he was in his corner. He got with the minute rest period, and then he just said, I think my jaw's broke. I think my jaw's broke, and as the fourth round started, or maybe no, it was before the fourth round started. After he said that, the camera crew found the clip that they thought broke his jaw, and I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, his mouth was open and he got hit. And when you're not supposed to keep your mouth open, because think about it, if your mouth's open, this bottom part of your jaw is loose, and he got hit and his whole jaw went to the side. You could probably find the clip on YouTube. Just type in Colby Covington jaw broke. But yeah, you're not supposed to have when your mouth is closed and you're biting down on your mouthpiece, your whole head goes with it. So yeah, he said his mouth. They isolated the clip to show us, and then he said his jaw was broken. After the fight, he actually did have a hairline fracture in his jaw. So yeah, it was pretty crazy fight. I mean, a lot of strikes thrown. I mean, it was a good fight. I'm sure you guys can. You might even be able to find it on YouTube right now, rewatching it or something. But yeah, it was a crazy fight. All the fights were pretty good, actually. The Amanda Nunes versus Jermaine Duraname fight was a little boring. Amanda was getting pieced up on the feet, and I mean, Jermaine is I think is a world champion in either kickboxing or Muay Thai. So I think it's Muay Thai. I'm not sure though, but might be both. But I mean, Amanda didn't want none of that standing on the feet. She didn't want any of that. So she just kept taking her down and, lay. And yeah, that was pretty much it. It was kind of a little bit of a boring fight. Then you had yeah, it was crazy. That main fight was it was literally one of the best of the year. It's just funny how you have two people who are so heavy grappling, not one takedown was attempted. They just kept going back and forth in the strikes, back and forth. But yeah, I just want to see where it goes from here. I hope they give the fight to Masvidal. I know Leon Edwards deserves a fight, but that shit's just so boring. I want to see Edwards fight Marty fake snoozman. I mean, what do I think I would happen? Oh, I'd get fucked up. The only thing that I think that I could probably do is out muscle her, and then I think I outweigh her by like, even walking around, I outweigh her by like 30, 40 pounds. Like, yeah, 30 pounds. She probably walks around at like 170, 160, 170. I bet you. But no, yeah, I mean, unless she caught me with the head kick, then I'd be dead pretty much. But yeah, I'd get fucked up. Yeah, I would just have to just throw haymakers. That's pretty much what I'd have to do. Throw haymakers, use my weight, use my strength. Because I know I'm stronger than her, but yeah, I don't know. I can't take a head kick from her. A head kick, I'd be dead. That head kick she used to knock out Holly Holm would yeah, I'd be sent to the nether realm with that shit. And I don't think, but I think that the disparity between men and women is a lot larger than people think. I hear some people just automatically give it to the girl because they're a fighter, which now in this case, that's different. She's one of the best in the world. So, but yeah, I think that it's just completely different. I think that if like, she would try to fight, I think if a guy were to fight like a guy who is half decent at fighting were to fight even a much better female MMA fighter, he would win. But yeah, I think it depends on how she'd go about it. If she started throwing kicks, I'd be fucked. I'm telling you, a kick to the knee, I'd be done for. You already know I got fucked at me, so yeah, I'd be pretty much done. But sometimes I think about that, like in like a thought experiment. Like, what did they ask? Do you want five punches from Lomachenko? He's a boxer. Or do you want one punch from Deontay Wilder? He's a boxer too. But Lomachenko is like what? I don't know the weight classes for boxing too much, but he's like 130 something weight class. Deontay Wilder's heavyweight. I ain't taking a punch from Deontay Wilder. There's no way in hell. There's no way in hell. I will fight any of the lower weight class boxers a whole fight rather than take one punch from Deontay Wilder. There's no way. There's no way. I'd be dead. I'd either be dead or I'd be put into a coma. Like, he's knocked out pretty much everyone except what? 2 people? Yeah. Yep, he's knocked out everybody but 2 people, I think. His knockout rate's like 98% or 96% or something like that. So I ain't about to deal with that. But yeah, the second fight from the bottom on the card over the weekend was Jose Aldo versus Marlon Moraes, and that was the decision was kind of disappointing. I thought Aldo won. Most people thought Aldo won, but they gave it to Moraes. I could see it going both ways. Oh, that was Starlight. Yeah, with Starlight fighter. So ask Starlight, would he do $100,000, or would he fight Cyborg and then Amanda at the same time for 15 minutes, no referee, and they're not going to stop? So $100,000 or 15 minutes versus those two, no referee, and they're not going to stop. No, actually, no, that's probably too bad because he'd probably be dead. All right, a better one. The $100,000 or 3 minutes versus those two. But there's no referee, so if they knock you out in a minute, they get 2 minutes just to wail on your knocked out body. So I mean, you got to pick one. 3 minutes versus those two, or 100 grand. I mean, not what am I doing? I'm saying that all fucked up. You do it, you get 100 grand or nothing. So I'm like giving you an option, like you're gonna fucking pick the 100 grand. No, so you do it, you complete the 3 minutes, you get the 100,000, or you get nothing. So would you do that for 100 grand? I don't know if I would. I don't think I would. Probably not. I think I'd be dead if I tried to do that. I think I'd definitely be dead. Since they are absolutely crazy. But yeah, Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo. Disappointed in that decision. But Dana was talking about giving the fight to Jose anyways. Said, hey JP, so I started following you a little time ago. I'm an exercise physiology major, but I feel like I want to learn more and more. That's cool. That's cool. Where are you at in school, man? And what's your goal with the exercise physiology? That's what my major. Yeah, Baby Blue Zimmerman said, yes, Cejudo wants Aldo. Yeah, Cejudo does want Aldo, but if you've seen, there's some, I don't know, it's kind of a funny situation because Dana's probably gonna give Aldo to Cejudo, but it is still kind of weird because Marlon did win on the judges' scorecard. So, and what that means, obviously, it's gonna go on his record. But I mean, what's confusing is just, isn't it kind of weird that Jose Aldo goes down the weight class, loses the fight, and then leapfrogs everybody? I mean, isn't Aljamain Sterling in that weight class? I'm pretty sure he is 145, or was it 135? Yeah, I think he is. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a kind of messy situation. I mean, I think I think I don't know. It's kind of weird. I wouldn't be, like Dana said, I wouldn't be mad if they gave the fight to Aldo. I think it would just be a little weird. Um, so Alejandro, so yeah, let me know how far you are in your school. I want to know how far you are in your major. Exercise physiology is a good major, but it's for people who want to do like strength and performance and bodybuilding and like personal training. I think it starts to go into a little bit of exercise physiology starts to go into a different realm when you start getting up the chain of schooling. It starts to go into like almost like medical side. So I would think about that. Um, he said, any advices about certifications, hobbies, or books that I can read to get more knowledge? It just depends on what you want to learn, man. Like, what's your goal? Are you trying to be like, are you trying to use your exercise physiology major to like help people in a medical setting prevent disease, or are you trying to learn exercise physiology so you can be a better personal trainer? Do you want to be a strongman coach, a powerlifting coach, a bodybuilding coach, a weight loss coach? Like, what's your goal? Because there are a lot of books out there. I mean, I think there are a lot of books you could just learn um, about he would do, Alicia. Oh yeah, he'd probably die though. Alejandro said, I'm from Spain, but studying in Florida now with a tennis scholarship. My goal is to become a PE teacher, but at the same time, I want to do something medical or nutritionist as well. You said you're from Spain. Your school, you're now with the tennis. My goal is to become a PE teacher, something medical or nutritionist as well. That's kind of a little bit hard. That's kind of pretty. A lot of the stuff that I study is more for like coaches, like personal trainers, kind of. Um, I think that uh, I think that it could probably serve everyone well to learn about biomechanics for one, especially if you're going to be a PE teacher. Just learning more, and I'm sure in your schooling you're going to learn biomechanics, but picking up an extra book, maybe like a beginner book. I have a biomechanics book around it. It's right over there. Um, yeah, a book about biomechanics will benefit you well. Um, for it's kind of hard to say, man. That's pretty open ended, you know. I would say, you know, anything that you can almost get your hands on, like uh again, the books that I read are more from more for personal trainers. So like one person that I like to follow is Eric Helms. I'm actually doing a course by him right now on the Holistic Performance Nutrition website. So if you go to Holistic Performance Nutrition, he has a course on evidence-based practice and research. That's a really good course for anyone who likes looking at evidence and taking that evidence, like studies, and putting it into practice. Whether it's a PE, like for a PE teacher, like maybe there's studies in regards to you know, the, I don't know, it could be anything. You know, the certain amount of, like, I don't know, maybe the effects of heavy lifting on joints of under, of children or something like that. There's a lot of scenarios that it could come up, but so that course could be something that you could do. You could read any book on biomechanics. I think that could be beneficial. There's a lot of stuff again from Eric Helms. Eric Helms has a lot of books. He has a strength and nutrition pyramid books. On that same website, Holistic Performance Nutrition, they have nutrition courses on there. They're pretty pricey, I'm not gonna lie, but that website seems to have some pretty good certification. So you could check out Eric Helms, his work, and then check out that website as well, man. They got some good stuff on there. That's cool, man. Just keep that stuff up. But yeah, PE teacher, and something medical nutritionist is kind of open ended. Alicia Jones said, if they kill me, they will lose their career, so I'm not worried about dying. No, I don't mean like that. You can't say that. I'm talking about like if you had to do the fight versus those two, but they don't get in trouble. They don't lose their career. No one will know about it. They'll just find you hurt. No problem, Alejandro. If you got any questions, you can ask more, or anytime you got a question, let me know. Zimmerman said, is there a video research you can point me to on weight training for total newbies? I'm scrawny, looking to build muscle, but I don't know what my gym routine should look like. It's honestly, if you're a beginner, like you could just, you could start on like pretty much anything, but like books, you could, those books that I was telling you about, well, it depends. Like, are you trying to get more in depth with it, or are you just trying to get it like someone tells you like a workout and you do it? Like if you're trying to learn how to make your own program, there's some somewhat short books. Short in the grand scheme of things, like less than 200 pages. A book I can give you that'll help you or tell you about, so you can buy, and it'll help you build your own program. And by weight training, what do you mean? Like that's like how to build like a periodized program? Or are you looking for exercise technique? Because that's the thing, is nutrition is one of the things that's kind of, no, you just need a program. I would probably check, honestly, like that's hard to say. I would say probably go, again, I don't know if they have, I'm sure you could probably, and are you trying to gain muscle? Yeah, Greg Nuckols. If you look at Greg Nuckols, his website, Stronger by Science, strongerbyscience.com. You could look on his website. I think he might have a hypertrophy program. If he doesn't, I'm sure you can look up some stuff by, again, Eric Helms. Go to Eric Helms. You can look up any of the stuff he's affiliated with his name. His website, I'm sure they have coaching options there, or just a program that you can probably buy from them. But those are the two people that will just go to their websites, Greg Nuckols or Eric Helms. Those two people, if they have any hypertrophy programs, they will be really well thought out. I actually think that another person too is Jeff Nippard. Jeff Nippard has some really good programs. He's one of the few fitness YouTubers that I think that's actually really, really, really good. I think a lot of fitness YouTubers aren't that good. They don't really look at research. They kind of just, they go off of too much anecdotes, too much personal experience. So if you go to jpfitnesspro.com, he has some programs for hypertrophy. He has a couple splits that you can look up. They're actually really good programs. So check out those three people: Greg Nuckols and his website, Stronger by Science; Eric Helms, and I think his website's 3D Muscle Journey. So you can look up those two. And then jpfitnesspro.com. I'm sure between those three things, you're going to find a program. I actually think Greg Nuckols has some free programs. If you sign up for his newsletter, he'll send you a bunch. The thing is, Jeff Nippard, I'm not sure if you're vegan, but Jeff Nippard, his diet advice, I don't know if you're vegan. I'm assuming that's what you mean. If you're talking about his diet advice, vegan gains, okay, that's a funny topic. I think, and I've said this before, that is the only time that I think that, look, Jeff Nippard's a very smart guy. Vegan Gain said it himself in one of his video replies to him. He said Jeff Nippard is either really stupid or he's being intellectually dishonest. Now, don't let one person sway you one way or the other, Zimmerman. I don't think that just because Jeff Nippert, I don't think he's stupid. I think he was being intellectually dishonest because I think that's a hard pill to swallow when you know you're wrong. I think that in that instance with vegan gains, I think he was again being intellectually dishonest, and I think he was kind of how do I say, he wasn't facing the facts like he should have. And I think that, again, think about it. What is he going to do? Admit that eggs and all that shit's bad for you and just now if he eats eggs, he looks like a hypocrite? You know, he's kind of grasping for straws, which is what a lot of non-vegans do, especially ones that like to use, a good rationale for the basis of their claims, which Jeff does. So I don't think he's not stupid, but I think he was being intellectually dishonest. But I think that's only in that instance because he had a reason to be intellectually dishonest. I think that if he were being honest, he would admit that he was kind of putting the wordage with those eggs bad. So I guess my point is that he is a good YouTuber. Don't let Vegan Gains was right, but don't let that one thing dissuade you from not looking at the rest of his content. Try not to be biased in that sense, because Jeff's content is really good. Vegan Gains actually isn't the best and not very the best when it comes to training. He actually had a couple wrong points on some videos, and I actually commented on one of his videos, and he admitted that he was wrong and that he made a bias towards compound movements. It was a video he did a while ago about basically isolation exercises not being efficient or high enough loadage, so there's no point to do isolation exercises, but he wasn't taking into account torque and moment arms, and there are numerous studies that show that isolation exercises can help people gain muscle. But again, I do think compounds are better for their bang for their buck kind of utility. So what I'm trying to say is Jeff Nippert is good in training. When it comes to diet advice that doesn't pertain to meat or not meat, when it comes to looking at evidence, I think Jeff Nippert is one of the best. If you just go into his content without being biased and kind of just roll your eyes if you hear him, and again, he doesn't hate the vegan diet. He was wrong in that one point and just kind of looked a little desperate in the whole thing. But no, his content's good. So yeah, man, so to kind of re-answer your question, it's those three people: Greg Nuckols and Stronger by Science, Eric Helms and 3D Muscle Journey, and then Jeff Nippert and jeffnippert.com. So a really good channel, one of the best on YouTube. Just I think that if he were being unbiased when it came to the vegan thing and just admitted that he was wrong, I think it would be a lot better. And I think deep down he knows that he was wrong. Yep, no problem, man, no problem. Anytime. If you have any questions, let me know. You're definitely going to find some good content there. Yeah, Alicia, yeah, there's no way. He'll be dead. He'll be dead if he does that. He'll for sure he'll be done for, because yeah. Now, if we were on a team versus those two, we'd have a better chance. I mean, let me just plug this in real quick. But yeah, those are all good people to learn from. And it's always good, like when it comes to it's always good to learn from multiple different people when it comes to fitness stuff, and to understand that even with you guys watching my content, to always keep an open mind and be okay with having disagreements. And when you have a disagreement with someone that you follow online or in person, that to after you disagree with that person, that if you come on new evidence later on, to admit, okay, maybe you were right, maybe you were wrong with that disagreement. But don't be afraid to disagree with people, and don't let that one disagreement for that you have like make that whole person not don't blanket all of the other statements. Like with Jeff Nippert, I agree that he just wasn't right with the vegan gain stuff, and I think that it was just kind of a little bit weird seeing him be very wishy-washy with that. Alejandro said, so I'm really curious about what you have studied, because I can see when people know about their field, and it encourages me to be hungry. What do you think are the best ways to get the best from exercise physiology major? I'll answer your first question, but what do you mean when you say that? You said, what do you think are the best ways to get the best from exercise physiology major? Um, I think that just the first question is to learn is to just keep trying to use logic. Oh, what jobs? With the exercise physiology major, you can pretty much do anything. I mean, and fitness with the exercise physiology major. Once you get your bachelor's degree, you can get your CSCS, which is your Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist certification from from the NSCA, which will let you pretty much do strength and conditioning. As an exercise physiology major, you can do personal training. I don't, depending on where you're located. Um, Alejandro, you can I forgot where you said you were at, but I'm not sure if your location allows this. But I know in the U.S., the United States, that when you have I think it's a bachelor's degree or even an associate's degree in exercise science or kinesiology or whatever it is, that you don't even need to be a certified personal trainer to train people. You could just train people with a degree. So you can be a personal trainer. Once you get the CSCS, you can be a strength and conditioning coach. I mean, you could be a weight loss specialist. You could do medical stuff on the medical side of the field with like disease prevention. You could do a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's honestly what you want to do. I mean, obviously you can't be a medical doctor, and you can't, however your country kind of deals with diets. I know some, depending on where you're at, you need to be a registered dietitian to prescribe diets. So I'm not sure if that wherever it is, but there's a lot of stuff you could do with the exercise phys major. But your first question, so yeah, whatever you want, pretty much, within reason. But you said that what's curious about how do you what I've studied. I just studied a lot. I have my associate's degree in exercise science. It's not too much, but I have that. I've been certified for about 6 years, if not a little bit more. It's kind of, I lost count at this point. And then just continuing education, just reading, watching videos, hearing people talk, using logic to determine what makes sense and what doesn't. When you're watching someone's content on YouTube, if you don't have a basis of understanding of exercise science or exercise physiology, you don't know if what they're saying is right or wrong. For example, like someone may hear a YouTuber, a fit YouTuber say, like, for example, Scott Herman says, you got to go all the way down on squats. You got to go all the way down. If you don't go ass to grass, it doesn't count. How does someone who has no basis of biomechanics or fitness in general know Scott Herman's telling the truth? It sounds correct, but in my opinion, I completely disagree with that statement. Obviously, if people don't know that when you get rounding of your low back or posterior pelvic tilt of your hips, so if you get rounding of your low back, it puts a lot of stress on your lumbar spine when it's in excess. So some people biomechanically, if they go ass to grass, even if they do stretching, even if they do a good warm up, if they go ass to grass, they're going to get excessive rounding of that low back, which puts a lot of shear force on their lumbar spine, which isn't good. Some people just depending on their like femur length, their torso length, their dorsiflexion range of motion, which is limited by like bony constraints, the ankle, they might not be able to go all the way down ass to grass. So knowing, just for me having known biomechanics and thinking about it logically, can everybody go ass to grass? No. Some people just have really long femurs and really short torsos. If they try to go ass to grass, they get horrific lumbar rounding and their squat looks like a good morning, and it's just not sufficient. You can't blanket everybody by saying everyone needs to go ATG. So I think that when it comes to learning is you just got to no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying not everybody can go ass to grass. Some people can go ass to grass. See, yeah, you're going to the other extreme. Scott Herman is saying everybody can go ass to grass. I'm saying is some people can go ass to grass. Some people have longer torsos. Some people have shorter femurs and great dorsiflexion range of motion. Combine that with a good warm up, some mobility, and then heel raise to squat shoes. They can get ass to grass fine. Clarence Kennedy is a good example. I mean, that guy can pause squat over 600. Look at his lumbar. Look at his low back when he squats. There's absolutely no rounding. I mean, his squat form's amazing. Some people can, but that's the thing. You have to look at it as at an individual basis. You have to, look. I mean, I'm not gonna take out a ruler and measure their femurs, but I mean, you could have someone warm up, and kind of look at them when they squat and say, okay, wow, you have pretty long femurs compared to your torso. And again, you can kind of mitigate this by again using a heel raise squat shoe by let me see if this is loading. And then by having a wider stance. I did a video on this. So yeah, so some people can go ATG, but you can't blanket everybody by saying everybody should go ATG. I think that's very ignorant. It's very ignorant. Someone who says that just doesn't understand biomechanics. They don't understand individuals and how squatting works. So yeah, you can't just say that. So I mean, you can, but it's wrong in my opinion. So says something that I love about fitness is that everything is related. My Karen prevention professor tells us about how a back pain may have started in the ankle and having a base of anatomy. You can get it, and for me, it's very interesting. It is, and it's funny that you say that because I have a knee injury. When I was in the Marine Corps, I've said this before. I've torn my ACL, torn my meniscus. I had a hairline fracture at the top of my tibia, and sometimes I'll get low back pain. I don't know why. Sometimes it's my form is good. I don't do anything in the gym that like I do it and my back hurts. But sometimes I'm like maybe it's because my walking gait is a little bit off. Sometimes I have people tell me like, you're walking a little funny. Why are you limping? And I don't even know that I'm limping. And then it could be my knee because I can't fully extend my left knee. I'm like that far off from fully extending my left leg. So it could be that, maybe my gait's my gait's causing me to walk a little bit different and my low back's hurting. So you're right. And then for people who just, maybe they're, there's a lot of things that go into it. They have tight hip flexors. They have, elongated glutes just from sitting all the time. And that, I think it's your psoas major. Actually, I think it originates on one of your lumbar spine. So if you have tight hip flexors and you're doing crunches, for example, that could hurt your low back. So you're right. It does. It's all. We're just one big kinetic chain. One thing affects something else. And this affects that. And it's like if I can't lock out my left knee, maybe I'm a little bit shorter on this side. My left side's a little bit shorter. And then that's gonna affect my left side low back. Oh my God's loud. And then it's gonna affect, it's gonna affect everything. So I agree. And that's why everyone I think should work out to some extent. Fitness, it's big. But people need to be careful with that because, if you take it a little bit too extreme, you go too much in fitness, you can get overuse injuries, overtrain, all types of stuff. So yeah. So no, I agree with you, Alejandro. But yeah, that's just how you kind of learn, Alejandro, is just use logic, use reasoning, look at the available evidence. But you also have to combine like the available evidence with the knowledge that you have so far. So like with that squat example, I just don't agree that everyone should squat ATG. Some people can, but not everybody should. And there's lots of little nuances like this that you kind of have to think about. And also don't be afraid to change opinions on something. That's one thing. Don't be so prideful that you can't admit when you're wrong. I used to believe that, it's funny, when I first started working out, I would take longer rest periods. And then when I started looking on YouTube before I got certified, people would talk about short rest periods and bodybuilders would talk about short rest periods. And then I would listen to people like Ben Pakulski and in regards to fitness, but then and this was a long time ago, but when I started learning more and more, I'm like, when you look at the available evidence, short rest periods are not beneficial for hypertrophy. It's actually, rest periods longer than a minute and 2 minutes that are beneficial for hypertrophy. You go too short on rest periods, there's a lot of shit that happens when you go too short rest periods. You're sacrificing volume is the main factor that you're affecting. Do a set of bench press, take a 30-second rest period, and do that same set of bench press and keep doing that. You're not going to be able to hit the same amount of reps or weight that for that many sets. You take a 2 or 3 minute rest period, you're going to be able to keep that same volume or rep range up. So, but and then also too, that's just theoretically makes sense, but actually in practice, in applied research, longer rest periods are actually more beneficial. So mechanistically, it makes sense due to the energy systems used for lifting, but also in an applicable sense, it makes sense as well. So yeah, it's just kind of like there's so many things that you kind of have to use your logic. You have to look at the available research, and you can't be afraid to switch stances. Yeah, and the thing is, you can look at all this stuff, man. Like they have studies going over this stuff, and I'm actually taking a little course, and that's where it comes to. I obviously think that what I'm saying is correct, and a lot of these things I'm saying there's already very strong evidence for, but don't be afraid to look these things up yourself and form your own opinion. I don't think anyone should take someone's advice for the final word on anything, and that goes for you guys watching my content as well. Look up this evidence, form your own opinion. And a lot of the stuff that I do say, again, it's pretty much case closed. Like, there was a meta-analysis that showed that 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week is beneficial for hypertrophy. But again, even though science and a meta-analysis is pretty much the highest form of evidence you can get, there were some studies that actually show that some people respond all the way upwards to 30, 40 sets per muscle group per week. Not everyone can do that, but some people can. So you kind of have to, there's very few black and whites in exercise. There's just very few. So you kind of have to just learn to interpret research, and that's why research reviews are getting more and more popular. If you guys want a good thing to kind of subscribe to, there's a research review called MASS, Monthly Applications in Strength Sport. Basically 4 guys: Eric Helms, Eric Trexler, Mike Zordas, and Greg Knuckles. And this isn't a sponsorship. I'm not affiliated with them. I like their shit. But 4 guys basically dig through all the research, the latest research on hypertrophy, strength, and weight management. And they take the best studies and they cover them in like a magazine, kind of like a review thing that you get every month. And they make it in a very digestible format. So you don't have to read through all the boring shit. They just tell you how it is. So I have a subscription to that. So it keeps me updated on all the latest research. If something comes out that's new, they're going to cover it. They tell you everything about it, the pros and cons of the study. So it's really cool, and it's just being able to kind of and remember, the alternative is you can do it all your own, but you're gonna have to dig through thousands upon thousands of studies. You're gonna have to read the entire study. It saves you pretty much hundreds of hours of work. It's called MASS, Monthly Applications in Strength Sport. I think that I might have it on. Let me see if I have an issue right here. I should, I think. Let me see if I can show you real quick just what it looks like, so you know. It should. Oh yeah, here you go. Should be able to show you guys right here. Looks like this. MASS. So it's like a monthly applications in strength sport. So it has like a You read it and it covers all the available research you can do. I mean, what am I talking about? All the available research that's out. And these guys are really smart. They're very as unbiased as you can be. You'll learn from them that, you know, not everyone, you can't remove biases completely. So so yeah, it's a lot, man. It's just never ending. But if you like if you don't overload yourself and you if you don't overload yourself with information and you take it day by day and just try and learn, you know, you combine like a research, and that's not the only research review. They got more there. Like Alan Aragon, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Alan Aragon has his own research review. It's called Alan Aragon's Research Review, AARR. Then you have Chris Beardsley has his own research review on um, strength and conditioning. So it's more towards like sports performance than it is like powerlifting and bodybuilding. Mass is more for like bodybuilding and powerlifting. So they got lots out there, you know. Basically, it helps you from having to sit there and dig through all these studies. And remember, it's not just digging through the studies. You have to actually have subscriptions to these journals, um, these science journals, which aren't cheap. They're at least, I think, you know, 200-300 a year if you're not a student. So so yeah, whereas a research review is like, I think it's costing me $20 a month. So instead of paying $400, $500, $600, $700 for these different journals, spending 50 to 100 hours a month digging through all of them and reading them and interpreting them, I get it pretty much for $20 all in a digestible format, and it all applies to what I teach. There's nothing in there that I'm like, what the hell? This has nothing to do with fitness. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. So they got all types of stuff now. So you combine like a research review with like learning how to interpret studies yourself. Um, Baby Blue Zimmerman said, if volume is the goal, you said, if volume is the goal, what's the ideal rep and set range for hypertrophy? How many times a week should someone be lifting a week for hypertrophy? See, this is where like, man, there's fitness is just, it's fun, but it's like, they're funny questions. Volume's the goal to an extent. Volume just dictates the magnitude of adaptation. So it just dictates how much of a response you get for how much your muscle grows. But there's obviously a maximum there's like a maximum effective dose for everybody. And depending on where you're at in your training age, no problem, Alejandro. But yeah, no, depending on where you're at in your training age, that's different for everyone. But you said, what's the ideal set and rep range? That's it all. Okay, like, what's the ideal rep and set range? There was, I don't know if it was a meta-analysis or just a regular RCT, like a study, but it was done by, what's his name? Brad Schoenfield, where he compared basically a powerlifting style of only heavy weight, so 3 reps, but they did they did lower repetitions, heavier weight, and they had someone, that was one group, and then they had another group do a bodybuilding rep range. I think it was 8 to 12 reps. So it's kind of like inverse, you know, less sets and more reps than more sets and less reps, but they equated volume. And when they equated volume, both groups actually seen the same amount of hypertrophy. But due to the principle of specificity, which is, you know, if you don't know that, I would look it up. The group that trained the heavier weight got stronger, but because volume was matched, they both gained similar amounts of muscle. So there is no really, when it comes to sets and reps, there really is no like ideal. It just depends on where you're at as an individual. There wasn't a meta-analysis that did cover that. For most people, 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week is ideal. So for example, if you were to count every set that directly targeted chest, you want 10 to 20 sets per week. Obviously, for a beginner, you want to aim for the bottom of that rep range. So you want like 10 sets for chest per week. And if you're more advanced, you want to aim towards the top, 20 sets for chest for the entire week. Now, on top of that, for the entire week, you don't want to do all those sets on one day. You're not going to do 20 sets on chest in one day. So there was another study that covered frequency, whereas 1 times per week frequency was inferior to 2 and 3 times per week frequency is inferior even with volume match. Yes, I said 10 to 20 sets per week per muscle group. Yes. So if you were to count every set that directly targeted chest, you should have, like, for example, if you had 5 sets of bench on one day and 5 sets of bench on another day, that's 10 sets for the week. That's towards the lower end. So it's like could be for a beginner. I personally think that, again, that's what the study showed. But remember, you have to apply your practical. It's not all about studies. It's kind of like a risk to benefit ratio. Like someone completely new can actually do a little less than that and still see amazing gains. And that also, because everyone's different, studies don't cover every single individual. Going a little less than that could be optimal, because it ensures that the person's not going to be doing too much. So you can even go as like 6 to 8 sets per week starting out per muscle group. But 10 sets is fine if you want to do that. And then slowly you want to increase your volume over time. But so that sets, like I was saying, is those sets don't all go on one day. So you don't want to do them all on one day. That's not there's only so much you can recover from at any given point. So again, that's where studies showed that 1 times per week frequency is inferior to 2 or 3 times per week frequency, even when volumes matched. So if you had someone who did 10 sets all in one day, and then someone else who did, let's just say we had a clone of you. We had 2 Zimmermans here, and one did all 10 sets on one day, and one did 5 sets on one day and 5 sets on another day. The one who split up the 10 sets, I can almost guarantee will see better results by far. For many reasons. Obviously, you're able to recover from 5 sets better than you are 10 sets. That five sets is going to be of a higher quality. If you did all your 10 sets in one workout session, that second 5 sets of that session is going to be a lot more shitty form-wise and weight-wise than the first 5 sets. So splitting up the 5 sets, you're kind of having more fresh sets. So your technique is better, and it's probably more volume. Because anyone who lifts knows that, like, when you start getting in the workout, you're getting fatigued, and you can't do that much. I mean, if you've done a lot of push-ups in a workout, there's a point where you just can only get like a couple of push-ups. Like you do push-ups to the point you can't even get a push-up. But like your first set, you did like 30, or whatever it is, however many anyone can do. But so frequency matters. So splitting up your sets throughout the week. So 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. Beginners at the lower end and more advanced lifters at the higher end. And that's just a range that most people are going to fall in, but there are outliers. And you have to figure that out by, working on yourself and seeing how you respond. And split those sets up between 2, 3, 4 times per week. 2 to 3 times per week is more than enough. So again, and those rep ranges can be, your sets for hypertrophy, that's a little bit more complex. Like, yeah, that's kind of, so you have the sets down, you have the frequency down. For reps, most of your, for a short answer, man, most of your work should be in the 7 to 15 rep range. For hypertrophy, if your main goal is hypertrophy and not strength, most of your work should be in the 7 to 15 rep range. That should be like 60 to 80% of your work. So if you were to split all your sets up, 60 to 80% should be in that 7 to 15 rep range. Now, I personally believe in, most people I follow would agree with this, that I think that heavier sets should still be filled in there somewhere. A little bit of your work should be heavier sets, even if your goal is hypertrophy, because strength is going to help hypertrophy in the long run. So I think that if you had most of your work in the 7 to 15 rep range, but the last 25% of your sets were in the lower rep ranges, below 6 reps and below, that would actually be beneficial too. So, you could just do that 25% of your work in the heavier rep ranges and the rest in the 7 to 15 rep range. That would be ideal right there. That would be a good setup for hypertrophy. You're building strength, which is going to let you lift more sub-maximally, and then you're accumulating a lot of volume as well. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much answer to your question. 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week at a frequency of 2 to 3 times per week. Most of your work in the 7 to 15 rep range, and the last little bit of your work in the lower rep ranges. Yes, you're asking good questions, but these are, and when should someone increase their weight or volume? Um, this is funny, man. These are very weighted questions. These questions can almost be given a class on. That's where you're talking about periodization. You need to read um Eric Helms's strength and muscle and strength pyramid book. The muscle and strength pyramid. You need to read his book. It's very heavily referenced, very good book, not too expensive. I think it's like $30. Really good book, one of the best you will ever read when it comes to building a program. But and when should someone increase the weight or volume? If you're a beginner and you're just starting to lift, you're gonna see large increases in strength due to neurological adaptation, skill acquisition, and muscle mass. You're gonna see those fastest. So beginner gains are a thing. So as a beginner, you can have you can simply add weight week to week. So you could simply add weight week to week. So from week 1 to week 2, just add 5 to 10% onto your lifts. Now, this is gonna stall pretty quick. This is gonna stall pretty quick on your isolation movements and your smaller compound movements. Your large compound movements, you're going to be able to add 5 to 10% every week for a while. So like, let's just say I had someone come in, a beginner, never lifted before, and they want to do powerlifting. On their back squat, they're going to be, let's just say we start with the bar. 10% of the bar is roughly 5 pounds. I'm going to be able to add 5 pounds every week for a while. And then eventually, if I'm trying to stay in that rep range, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I would just add weight every week to the lifts you're doing. And when you can no longer stay in the rep range, because don't change the rep range. You don't need to change the rep range. But eventually you're going to get to a point where if you try and add a weight, you're not going to be able to reach the rep range. So if you're doing squats and you're in the rep range of 9 to 12, you start with the bar. Week 2, we add 5 pounds. You're able to get to 9 to 12 reps. Week 3, we add another 5 pounds. You're able to get to 9 to 12 reps. Week 4, let's just say we keep doing that. And we get to week 10 and we try to add another 5 pounds. And you get to 8 reps and you're like, okay, the RPE is getting a little too high. If you don't know what RPE is, just ignore that. But let's just say we get to 8 reps and you're like, okay, I'm getting too close to failure, because you shouldn't be going to failure on large compound movements like that. Then it's like, okay, you're starting to slow down in your progress. You're slowly not turning into a beginner, because rate of progression determines whether or not you're a beginner. And intermediate and advanced and expert. So that's called linear progression, is simply adding weight week to week. Beginners can do this. Now, once you stall, you need more advanced forms of periodization. So you could go from like linear progression to like linear periodization, which is adding weight week to week, but you now start to decrease the rep range. So week 1, you'll start with the 9 to 12, and then week 2, you go down to like 6 to 8, and then week 3, you go down to 4 to 5 reps, and then week 4 could be like a deload week. And then you restart at week 1 with slightly heavier weights compared to your first week 1. So you're kind of decreasing volume and increasing intensity through the 4 weeks, but then you restart at week 1. So it kind of looks like this. Start here, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up. So like when you compare week 1 16 weeks later to your week 1 from 16 weeks prior, it's that much difference in volume. But in your 4-week mesocycles, you're actually decreasing volume but increasing intensity. That would be like more of an intermediate progression. Whereas a beginner progression would be you simply just don't change anything, just add weight week to week. Beginners make gains fast, you could do that. You can't do that as an intermediate. And then as you become more and more advanced, there's more advanced forms of progression, which that's way getting into a fuck ton right now. That's this whole other video. Like right now, personally, I'm on a daily undulating block periodized program. So it has different forms of progression built in. So it's complicated, man. But again, if you want to just a book on all that, I would again go to look up Muscle and Strength Pyramid by Eric Helms. Him and there are a couple other people involved with the book, but I think he was the lead author. That whole book will let you tell you about rep ranges, tell you about volume, tell you about exercise selection. It'll tell you about rest periods. It'll basically give you a whole I think it's like 150 page book on how to build your own program for strength and hypertrophy. So it's all kind of summarized in a one book. And it can get a little confusing in there because there are a lot of questions, but they give example. They give it. I mean, they do as much as they can in the book, but if you have no prior knowledge on this, it could be a little bit overwhelming. But they make it as digestible as possible. So it's a great book. Just with this stuff, man, it's a lot of gray areas. So with being a good trainer, not a shitty trainer, you know, there are a lot of bad trainers out there, man. It's ridiculous. I can't even stand seeing that many bad trainers, but good trainers, it's a constant wheel. It's a constant thought process. It's constant. What's up, man? How you doing? I have no idea how to pronounce your name, and I don't want to upset you. But hello, what's up? But yeah, so what training? It's just a constant, like it's a constant wheel. There's never like there's never an off button. You know, the research is always going forward, and there's always new things. You know. What I learned when I first started training is just way different from what I learn now, what I know now. And I just made a lot of mistakes along the way. And that's the reason why I have the YouTube channel and I help people. It's because for people who want to be personal trainers, or for people who want to just get the best out of their workouts, they don't make the same mistakes I did, flip-flopping on, you know, so many things. What's my tempo like? Should I do the negatives on the exercises, the lowering portion, really slow? Should I do high repetitions? Should I do low repetitions? What's my rest periods? What exercises should I pick? When do I increase weight? When do I add sets? You know, when do I take deload weeks? When do I do this? You know, it's a lot. What lets you know a trainer doesn't know what the hell he or she is doing? When they don't, it's just clear when what they're saying, okay, how do I say this? You have to go by, there's like a chain of how do I say, like, there's like a kind of like a chain of command in what you do in regards to knowing something is correct. There's obviously different levels of evidence. At the bottom of the barrel of evidence is expert opinion. At the top levels of evidence is like a meta-analysis and systematic reviews. A meta-analysis is like a study of studies. You're looking at a bunch of studies that meet a specific criteria and saying, what do all these studies say? So a bad trainer, if you have read any meta-analysis at any point, I'm not asking you, but I'm saying if a trainer has, like for me, for example, most people are going to fall within 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. If I hear a trainer say that, you know, you only got to do one hard set per week, I clearly know, one, they haven't seen that meta-analysis, or two, they have, and they have no idea how to weigh different forms of evidence. So I know they're wrong if they say that all they need is one set per week. So that's one way, is there's clearly stronger evidence than what this person says. And you cannot just chalk it up to, oh, well, that works for me. Well, I don't give a shit if it works for you. You know, we're trying to find out what averages are and go from that. Now, if a trainer said, well, this person that I'm training, you know, responds better to lower volume, even though I know that average is 10 to 20 sets per week, but this person, we've tried it out, they respond better to 6 sets per week. 10 to 20 sets is too much, but I know other people don't. That's smarter because, you know, they're taking this individual and looking at them like that. Another example is biomechanics. You probably have seen someone stand up in the gym, and I did a video on this. They'll do this shit, this standing up. They'll turn their arm like this, stand up. They'll be doing this with the dumbbell in their hand. They'll take a dumbbell and they'll do this. They're doing like a rotator cuff warm up. So they'll stand and do this. Just they'll hold the dumbbell and do that. It's stupid and it makes no sense because biomechanically, you know, dumbbells, they work with gravity, you know, so the resistance is going straight down. So if you're trying to work your rotator cuff, you need the resistance going against your rotator cuff, which is internal and external rotation. So like doing external rotations and internal rotations with a cable makes sense. It's better. It's what actually targeting the rotator cuff. If you're just standing straight up and doing this with your arms and holding a dumbbell, you're doing an isometric bicep curl that's not challenging the rotator cuff in any way. So just my knowledge of biomechanics and which muscles work what, I know that that's wrong. You know, again, mechanistically, that's not going to do anything for the rotator cuff. So yeah, so I guess you just have to know, like, and I mean, again, there are a lot of gray area, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I just, you know, like, I just see it all the time. Like, you know, okay, for example, like, if a power lifter does most of his deadlifts touch and go style, he doesn't stop at the bottom of a deadlift. He comes up to the top and then he goes back down on the deadlift and he bounces the weight off the ground. Even if it's not a bounce, let's just say he does a light touch and go. If I see someone doing that most of the time, or someone training someone that most of the time, and they're training a power lifter for a competition, that's the specificity is not that high. Because think about it, in competition, you don't do most of your deadlifts from a touch and go style. Your competition deadlifts are from a dead stop. So most of your work should be at a dead stop deadlift. You want specificity to be as high as possible. You want to train exactly how you're going to compete, because that's how you're going to compete. You want to get good as with the competition lifts. The further you get away from the competition lifts, the lower the specificity. So if someone said that they think that touch and go deadlifts are better than dead stop deadlifts for their athlete that's going to compete, I'd be hard pressed to agree with that. I would want to hear the logic, because I don't see it. I don't see that at all. Touch and go deadlift, all it does is make it easier. You put more weight on there. It's the lower specificity. I mean, it's just, I don't see the benefit of that. But a lot of people do touch and go deadlifts, you know, even people who compete. So I don't know. So that's just, yeah. So I guess to summarize your point, these are just points that I'm going through, but knowledge of research and knowledge of just kind of like what you've learned and piecing everything together, and then looking at the scenario, and remembering again the principle of specificity in certain goals. You can kind of just tell when a trainer just doesn't know what they're doing. And I don't mean that to be mean. I just mean that from like a laziness perspective. That's one thing I don't like about my field, is that being personal training is just so watered down. And I don't know, to be the personal trainer doesn't mean shit these days. You know, half the people don't take it serious. They don't do good continuing education. A lot of trainers don't even have a certification to begin with, or they have some weak weekend cert. You know, like it's ridiculous. I mean, I wish there were much higher, you know, a lot of higher things you had to do to become a trainer, but it's not up to me. So yeah, so it's everything, man. It's everything. You piece it together, and then you look at the thing and say, okay, well, this guy, who in my opinion is the worst of the fitness industry, that's hard to say. You would have to, here, let me answer Gabe's question. Gabe, give me what's up. You said, how important are deadlifts on a scale from 1 to 10? It depends on your goals. For hypertrophy, you can gain muscle through various different exercises. So are you talking about conventional deadlifts or any deadlifts? Again, for hypertrophy, technically they're not important at all. You can gain muscle in your hamstrings, your spinal erectors, your glutes without ever doing a deadlift. So I don't think any one exercise is important. They all can fill a gap somewhere. For hypertrophy, it's how you gain muscle. So for hypertrophy, not important at all. No one exercises. You can fill in the gaps anywhere. For powerlifting, they're very important. You attend, so you have to do deadlifts in a powerlifting setting. So So yeah, so depending on, for strongman, same thing, you have to deadlift at some point. So yeah, so for sports that include deadlifting, a 10. For everything else, a 1, because you don't need to do a deadlift to have a good physique. You can do lots of other leg exercises and posterior chin exercises to get a good physique. So yep. Baby Blue Zimmerman said, who in your opinion is a worse than finisher? Obvious answers like Frank Tufano. It depends on what we're talking about, man. I think that there are some. No problem, Gabe Gaming. See ya. I really don't know and appreciate the support, Gabe. I really do appreciate it. Thanks, man. So the worst, I don't know. There are some pretty bad ones, man. Michael Hearn is pretty fucking bad. He doesn't know shit. He knows next to nothing. I've heard him say some pretty fucking stupid things. I mean, if you just hear that guy talk, I mean, oh man, he's so full of shit. It's not even. I mean, horrible. I remember him saying something about training for 1 month and then stopping for a month. And I hate when people fall back on the excuse where everybody's different. Yes, everybody's different. Okay, so what if I told you, oh, I'm different. Oh, I beat my head against the wall to get the most bicep gains. I take my head and if I find the hardest wall I can in the city and I beat my head against the wall and I get the best bicep gains. It works for me. It might not work for you, but it works for me, man. I know my body. Like, no, fuck you. That doesn't count. I don't give a shit. That doesn't count. That's not going to get you bicep gains. People fall on the excuse of it works for me or everybody's different too much. Okay, you're not going to be able to fucking scratch your leg and fucking get forearm gains. That shit doesn't work like that. So when Michael Hearn says shit like that, like, work out for a month and take a whole month off and everybody's different. You got to find what works for you. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about at all. He has an ego complex, and you can even see it in his video with Jay Cutler and I think it was Larry Wills he did like a couple months ago. He just keeps trying to overtalk everybody. He always feels like he has something to prove. He has little man syndrome, little man. So I don't like him at all. I think he's a liar too. Yeah, and I think he's extremely manipulative. He's not natural. He's full of shit when it comes to that, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So yeah, Michael Hearn's definitely one of the worst. Who else? It's kind of hard to think about this off the top of my head. It's like I come across people and I'm like, yeah, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. There are a lot of good people online. It's because I stick to the people that I like. That I don't sit there and waste time watching people that I don't like. No, there are some disagreements I have with Jeff, but no, I like Athlete Next. Athlete Next is a really good channel. I think Jeff Cavalier has. This is where I think that Vegan Gains, his like videos on Athlete Next. Again, he doesn't really make that much sense in regards to some of the stuff he says. Again, and Vegan Gains has actually admitted this. There was a comment on his video from like 6 months ago. I commenting on his videos like over and over because he made a video about isolation exercises and compound movements, and he tried to say that because isolation exercises don't overload that muscle like compound exercises do, that they aren't as like he was using percentages of 1 rep maxes for compound lifts and using those same percentages for isolation movements. But you can't do that because, like, for example, if you're taking, let's just say you're doing a lateral raise where your arm is straight, and then you're taking a bench press or whatever, you have to think of, for a lateral raise, you're using your entire straight arm. So if you're using your whole straight arm, whereas your arm is bent like in a press, in a lateral raise, the moment arm is twice as long, so there's twice as much torque being applied at that joint, which means your muscle has to produce more force to be able to lift that weight. So you have to look at tension, obviously, for a muscle in regards to like you have to take in torque. You can't just look at the weight and percentages. So I think that in regards to Athlete X, I think it's a great channel. I slightly disagree with him on some of his talks on intensity in regards to hypertrophy and his talks on volume. Um, but I think that overall he's a really very smart, and I think that his channel is best suited for athletics. I don't think his channel is best suited for hypertrophy, even though you can get jacked with a lot of his advice. Very sound of it. I disagree with him on some very minute stuff. I think he's very good at coming up with exercises too. I don't think there's a single better person for coming up with exercises than him. He comes up with some shit. I'm just like, I have no idea how he came up with that. Like, I'll take some of his exercises and use that in my periodized program. Again, I wouldn't trust Jeff to make my hypertrophy program for me. I think I'm better than him at making a hypertrophy program. But in regards to being athletic and looking good, like looking like an athlete, I don't know if there's many people who beat him. Like if I want to look good and be athletic at the same time, like combined, yeah, his channel is just top notch. So yeah, I really like his channel. I think it's a good. I don't. Again, I would love to talk with him. I disagree with him on some small things, but that's pretty much it. It's a great channel. Omar Isuf, I like his channel. So Omar's channel is really good. Who else? Yeah, I haven't really been watching too many fitness YouTubes. More of like books and stuff for me. Yeah, but yep. I'm actually going to end the stream. So thank you everybody. Thank you, Baby Blue Zimmerman, for the questions. I really appreciate it. The support. Thanks Gabe for stopping by real quick. Thank you Alejandro for the questions and support. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. A lot of questions today. Great. You know, sometimes we get a lot slower stream. Today was pretty good with the questions. So, again, thank you for the activity, Baby Blue Zimmerman. Why is your name that, too? Is that like, it's kind of funny. I don't know. I always think of that. I don't mean this in a mean way, but I think of that guy who got shot, Zimmerman. I'm not, is that your picture? What's your what's your name for, man? But if you want to comment on any of my videos at any time, follow me on Instagram at jpfitnesspro. I post content on there. Oh, Bob Dylan. Okay. So I probably look stupid because I don't know that, but yeah. So if you have any questions, man, at any point, just put it on my channel, message me on Instagram. I appreciate the support, man, and everyone who stopped by. I appreciate it. I will see you guys in video sometime this week. If you guys have any topics for videos you want me to cover, let me know and I'll do that. But I will see you guys in the next video.